So you want to get your music on Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming platforms. Well, grab a coffee and get cozy, because in this video, I'm going to go through every single step of the process to get your music everywhere. First, you need a distributor. A distributor acts as the middleman between you and the streaming platforms. Think of a distributor as your one-stop shop to get your music everywhere. And if you're wondering why can't you just go directly to Spotify and Apple Music yourself, unfortunately, that's just not how the system works. As music artists, we need a distributor to get our music on streaming platforms. But the good news is there are a ton to choose from. I'm Desh, I'm an indie music artist, and I've been releasing music for years on all streaming platforms, and I have experience with all three of the top distributors, CD Baby, DistroKid, and TuneCore. I unfortunately had a really bad experience with one of these distributors, and if you want the tea on that, you can go ahead and check out the video I'll link below. Every distributor is different. Some may charge a fee up front, while others may charge per upload. I've been using DistroKid for over 2 years now, and I'm really happy with them, especially with my past experiences with other distributors. There's a lot I like about DistroKid. I'm going to touch on all the reasons why I like using them in my step-by-step process, so even if you don't use DistroKid, you can still approach these same steps to whoever you use as a distributor. And one quick note, this video is not sponsored by DistroKid. I've just been really enjoying their services. You can actually use my referral link and get 7% off your first year. You can find that link in the description below as well. So why DistroKid? One is unlimited uploads, and you keep 100% of your royalties. Their turnaround time is also lightning fast compared to other distributors I've used in the past. On the long end, I've had releases take about 2 to 3 days to get accepted on all services and all stores. And on the shorter end, it's been as little as 12 hours. Another thing that's super important to me with a distributor is actually being able to contact someone if you run into an issue or you have a question. And unlike other distributors I've dealt with DistroKid, you do start out with a chatbot, but as soon as you say you want to speak to a human or you want to talk to an actual person, you can go ahead and leave a message. You get a response from an actual person, which is huge because no one wants to deal with a bot when you need a question answered that only a human can answer. For a couple years now, this has always been my experience. When I have a question, I just reach out to DistroKid. In a couple days, I get an email response back by an actual human, and it has always so far resolved any issues I've had. Their live chat's actually helpful as well because it'll bring up links that you might find helpful or will already answer your question, and those are very useful as well. DistroKid even has a quote from the founder of TuneCore, one of their biggest competitors, endorsing DistroKid on their website. And their website overall is just super easy to navigate, especially when it's your first time doing this. When I was just starting out, I just found their whole website really easy, really user-friendly. And again, when you're just trying to get your release out there, get your music out there, you just want something easy to follow, easy to understand, that's not going to stress you out, and it's just going to be a seamless process. Now, as far as which plan, I personally recommend going with Musicians Plus. They have a basic plan, they have an ultimate plan, but in my opinion, the Musician Plus plan is the perfect sweet spot right in the middle that gets you everything you're going to need. Currently $22.99 a year, and it comes with 2 artist slots, custom release date, so it's not just when you upload your music, it's going to go out whenever it gets to stores in a couple days. You get to pick a custom release date. And ideally, you're going to want to schedule a release 30 days in advance. Having a custom release date is crucial for a successful release. Giving yourself at least 30 days prior to release will allow you to pitch to Spotify editorial playlists, make social content to help hype up the release, and a lot more. That'll give you plenty of time to promote it, get all your ducks in a row, and again, we'll dive more into that in just a bit. The ultimate plan does come with a couple cool things like 1 terabyte instant file sharing, similar to like WeShare. As a musician, you probably are used to working with other musicians and collaborating. Being able to transfer large files like that can definitely come in handy. So keep that in mind if you're considering the ultimate plan. It also comes with the RIAA Gold and Platinum monitoring, which if you're a highly successful artist, that is definitely cool. I mean, I would want to know if I went certified platinum or certified gold on a record, wouldn't you? However, if you're like many of us indie artists, you probably don't have to worry about that for a little while. One day though, one day. All right, now that I've explained which distributor I prefer and why, let's go ahead and dive in on the step-by-step process on how to get your music everywhere. As I mentioned, I'm using the Musician Plus plan. So once I'm logged in, I go to upload. Here is where you'll start to fill out all the information for your release. First, you want to select which stores you want your music to release on. I always go with everything because I want to have my music wherever people are listening to music, and I think you should too. By default, all are selected except Snapchat, and if you click on Snapchat, you must acknowledge that you own 100% of the publishing rights, and this is very important. I'm not going to get into the weeds on publishing and mastering rights in this video, but if that's something you definitely want me to cover, please let me know in the comments below. But essentially, publishing refers to the writing composition of a song, so the vocal sung melody and the lyrics. And the master recording refers to the master recording of that track. So to give a quick example, if you write a song, melody and lyrics to a song, and that's the song that's recognizable, right? The melody's recognizable, the lyrics, that is the song in a nutshell. But you get that song produced professionally professionally by a producer, by an engineer. The initial composition of the song, vocal, sung melody, and lyrics refers to the publishing, and then master recording will refer to the recording of that track. But again, we're getting into the weeds a little bit, so let me know in the comments if you want me to do a whole video on that. But for now, let's move on. So essentially with Snapchat, you're just acknowledging that you do own 100% of the publishing rights. That's just to protect you overall, making sure that nobody else is going to try to upload your song to Snapchat without your permission. They want to make sure you own 100% of those publishing rights. Next, you're going to choose the dropdown of how many songs you'll do. One, if it's a single, or maybe it's an album. So choose the amount of songs, keep in mind if it's an EP or an album or just a single. Next, choose if it was previously released. Now, you're probably just going to put no, unless this is an alternative version. Maybe it's a radio edit. Maybe it's a live version. Maybe it's a remix of the original, something like that. But in most cases, if it's your first time uploading it, you're just going to put no. After that, you'll choose your artist or band name you want to release the music under. Now, hopefully you already have this, but if you don't stress out. Just know that this is going to be pretty crucial to your overall music career moving forward. You're going to want to pick something that obviously resonates with you, is true to your identity, true to your brand, if you call it that, or whatever is the essence of your music. But you also want to try to do a name that is original, as hard it is to be original nowadays. Go ahead and do a quick search on Spotify, maybe some social platforms that you're planning on being on, and try to find a name that isn't already taken or dominated by another artist. You can have a similar name, so many ways to go about it. If you're a band, you can come up with a really creative band name or a creative spelling like Churches does. If you're a solo artist, you can go by your full name like Phoebe Bridgers, or you can go by a name like Charlie XCX. It's really up to you. Whatever you choose, make sure it's something that you truly identify with, that you're going to be happy with and want to stick with, and hopefully it's available on all platforms. Not always, but sometimes when you're uploading your music through a distributor, it can grab the wrong artist name. So that's again just another reason why it's so important to have a unique name that is just you or comes up with just your music, and you're not going to necessarily be confused with another artist with a similar name. Next, it's going to ask you if you already have music on Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And the cool thing is, if you don't already have a Spotify for Artists account, which by the way is separate from a Spotify listener account or a free account, when you sign up with DistroKid, the very first time you upload a song and you go through this process, it will create one for you. And this is great because it's going to get you that verified check mark that looks super official on your Spotify for Artists profile page. And you'll get access to Spotify for Artists, which is an online portal which will give you access to analytics. You'll get to see your top performing songs and where the listeners are coming from. Super helpful stuff. And in here is where you'll also be able to pitch to the editorial playlist and try things like discovery mode or marquee once you unlock it with more listeners, and it'll give you more ways to promote directly through Spotify. Here you can upload merch and attach certain merch items to certain songs, which is really cool. And you can also update your artist pick, which is a way to promote your newest release, or maybe if you're on tour, it's to promote an upcoming show, things like that. Now, again, if you're brand new, this is a step I would not skip. I would absolutely make sure you opt into Spotify for Artists, because it is just another way to get your music out there with all the possibilities that Spotify offers with their pitch tool, their discovery mode, their marquee, which again, we'll dive more into in just a bit, but it is something you definitely don't want to skip on. As of now, Spotify still dominates the market with streaming services. And even if you have mixed feelings about Spotify, I'm not going to get into that in this video, but I do think that it is probably a good idea to have your music readily available wherever your listeners choose to listen to music. Maybe you're not a big fan of Spotify, maybe you are, but maybe your listeners happen to be mostly on Spotify and you don't want to not be on that platform in case that's where they choose to listen to music, because you don't want to miss out on those plays, on those fans finding you. So I highly recommend that you join all of these platforms, get your music everywhere that people are listening to music. So when someone does hear your song somewhere and look you up, they can find you. A few quick notes on Spotify for Artists. You do not need to have a regular Spotify listener account, paid or otherwise, to upload your music to Spotify through DistroKid. Your Spotify Artist account is completely separate. And again, it will be created for you if you upload your music for the first time through DistroKid, if you select Spotify as a store, so make sure you do that. And two, the very first time you upload your music to Spotify through your distributor, it may take to 2 weeks for Spotify to verify your account. But remember, in order for them to verify you, you need to have uploaded music to your account, which again, DistroKid will do for you. So don't wait, sign up, get your music on streaming platforms, get it on Spotify, and get yourself that snazzy check mark. Basically, you submit your tracks to DistroKid, DistroKid uploads them to Spotify, click on Get Access, and follow the instructions. And you'll be setting up your Spotify for Artists account. You can also view Spotify for Artists dashboard at artist.spotify.com or go to distrokid.com/Spotify. I'm going to do a more in-depth video on on everything about Spotify for Artists. So if you want to see more of that, make sure you subscribe so you'll be notified when that video goes live. For Apple Music, you'll go to Apple Artists channel and sign up. Similar to Spotify for Artists, you'll be able to add a bio, photos, add similar artists, add genre. Now, currently, Apple Music does not have a pitch tool like Spotify does, where you can pitch directly to their editorial playlist, which I don't know, Apple Music, like why? I feel like Apple Music should really try to compete with Spotify, as Spotify is the more prominent streaming service. And I feel like it's just a miss on their part to not offer that to especially indie artists. Every day there's thousands of artists uploading songs to their platform, and it would just be a cool way for indie artists to maybe reach more listeners through Apple Music, but also for Apple Music to compete with Spotify. If you agree, let me know in the comments below. Now, once you have your Spotify and Apple Music linked, you can set your release date for when you want your song to be available in stores. And again, stores also mean streaming services like Spotify, Apple Music. Now, if you're starting out, you may want your music up immediately, but remember what I mentioned earlier about giving yourself at least 30 days. That is very crucial, especially as an indie artist. You want to make sure you give yourself time to actually promote your release so it reaches your fans, it reaches new listeners. You have opportunities to possibly pitch it to Spotify editorial playlist, or get a music video made, or get some hype on social, or anything you can do to really give yourself a successful release. Another thing you want to know is that it's very important you release music on a Friday. It's this thing in the music industry called New Music Friday. It's when the majority of the new playlists come out. That's when Spotify's like Release Radar and different things like that come out. And it's just, again, do yourself a favor type thing and release on a Friday so you have the chance of your music getting on one of those playlists that is pushed to so many listeners. Many music charts and streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music release these weekly charts as well. And again, their algorithms on Fridays, it's imperative that artists release music on Friday. You can gain a visibility on these platforms and maybe even land yourself on a New Music Friday playlist. Billboard also tracks sales from Fridays to Thursdays each week. So in theory, releasing on a Friday, you get in the hopes of appearing on one of the top weekly charts for the following week. Goals, right? But to be honest, you never know when a song is going to go viral or take off with listeners in a really big way. So once again, this is more just getting your ducks in a row, setting yourself up for success. So if you do have a big moment, you are ready to jump on all those opportunities. You're ready to ride that wave and actually benefit from some of the benefits you could get if your song does take off or something big happens for you. Sometimes artists will do like a surprise album drop. I think if you already have thousands of monthly listeners, you have a huge dedicated fan base that are absolutely going to love surprise drop like that, you should absolutely go for it. If you're a smaller indie artist, you might want to give yourself that 30 days to again promote your release and really give it the best chance of landing on some possible playlist or reaching listeners and giving it time to get the hype up and get people excited for it. Another reason why releasing a song every 30 to 40 days is important is because just like YouTube, just like all these streaming platforms, it's all about the algorithm and consistency. And with Spotify in particular, they really seem to pay attention to artists and bands that are releasing consistently once a month or every 30 to 40 days, a new release, using their pitch tool, promoting on socials and getting the hype up. They want to know that you're working for your own music. So if they see you being active on other platforms, they see you really pushing your releases and giving it everything you have every month, there's a better chance that you're going to get their attention and land on one of their editorial playlists if you are being consistent with your releases and not releasing a song every 6 to 8 months. Basically, your goal should be to have a system going. You produce your song or you contact a producer to produce your song while that producer is producing your next upcoming release, right? You already have a song submitted to Spotify editorial playlist, and during that time you are promoting that song, and then maybe you're also writing the next song. And so you always have this constant rotation of writing a song, sending it to the producer, promoting this song, and then the next song, and then you keep going. And this is how you have a consistent release schedule where every month you have a new song coming out. You're keeping your listeners engaged because they know they can always expect something new from you, and you're staying in the algorithm on all these streaming platforms and all the social platforms, and you're just waiting for that one song to somehow really make a moment for you, grab listeners, take off, and then hopefully people will fall in love with not just that moment and that 30 seconds of that song that went viral. They also are in your ecosystem, and then they are a fan for life, and they end up loving every song that you put out. That's the goal, right? Set yourself up for success. So when you do find these fans, they are going to stick with you, and they know that they can get a consistent song from you every month, and hopefully you're rewarded for that consistency as well with Spotify and some of the other streaming platforms in their algorithm. And trust me, that 30 days goes by fast. If you're somebody that is serious about your music, you probably have a laundry list so long that you don't even get to all of it in 30 days. You are making a lyric video, you're making a music video, you're posting on socials, you are reaching out to music blogs, you are pitching to Spotify tutorial playlists, you're updating your EPK, you're trying to get your song possibly synced in film and TV. There are so many things you could be doing in that 30 days, which again, I feel like this has to be its own video. So I'm not going to get into the weeds to it on this, but if you want a video where I dive deep into how to promote your song before release, let me know in the comments below and I'll be happy to make a video all about that. Now, quick tip, you're going to want to double, triple check the date. This normally wouldn't be an issue, but I actually had a little minor issue with this in a past release. It was December and I was setting the date for my next release in January. And most calendars, the year when you go from December to January will auto update to the next year. I didn't notice, but at the time, this didn't update for me. So I actually had set it to the past. Because again, I was in December setting it for January. It set it for January from that past year. Remember how I said give yourself 30 days? Well, my song went up within like 12 hours. And so I realized the issue. And luckily, before any of my music listeners found out, basically I just went to the release, I click edit, and I edited the date. Not a huge deal. If you do make this mistake, even though you could easily change the date and that might not be as a big deal, it does actually prevent you from pitching your song to Spotify because again, it went up immediately to all streaming platforms because the year was set in the past. That's just a real bummer. I didn't even get a chance to pitch that song to Spotify tutorial playlists. Just something to keep in mind. Definitely double, triple check the date that it is the right date and a Friday and the right year. And you're giving yourself, again, that 30 days ideally to promote your release. Now, when it comes to record label, if you're on a record label, go ahead and list that here. But this is also a cool time to go ahead and put anything you want. If you have like some kind of brand that you associate your music with, for me, it's cry pop. I came up with the genre. I was trying to describe my music to people and I was saying it's like catchy songs you want to sing and cry along to. Cry pop is something that I associate all my music with and it's what I put as my label name. By the way, if you don't select anything, it'll just fall under DistroKid as default. Now keep in mind, if you have the basic plan, there might be some options here that you don't have access to. I'm just covering everything I have access to with the Musician Plus plan. Know that if you don't have some of these, that might be why. Next, you select the language that your song is in and your primary genre and secondary genre. Now, there is a lot to choose from, but at the same time, sometimes I feel it's hard to put certain songs in a genre. You don't necessarily have to choose a secondary genre. Only do it if you feel like it's going to actually put your music in front of the right listeners. Otherwise, it can hurt you. Basically, you don't want your music to go to the wrong listeners that won't like it, won't enjoy it, because that's just going to ultimately hurt you and hurt the algorithm, and it's not going to push you to as many people. Make sure you're as accurate as possible when you are choosing which genre your song falls under. Sometimes picking something more niche, as long as it's accurate, can actually help you because maybe there's less competition, or maybe it's more likely that you'll end up on one of those niche playlists with listeners that are looking for that type of music. Just make sure you don't pick something completely obscure that does not fit your music, or it'll have the opposite effect. So next, I go to upload and I choose the album art for my song. Quick tip here, if you're not a visual artist, you can always hire one. You can always get someone to take a photo of you. As much as professionally shot photos and things are in, it's also, just as cool to do something kind of low budget. It's really no right or wrong situation. It's what matters to you and what really represents your music. And I just wanted to note on a couple free tools. Canva is a free site you can use. Cool free site for AI is Stable Diffusion. DistroKid will give you the specs on the album art, so you know exactly what size and dimensions it should look like, what it should be. And it also gives you tips, so make sure that you do pay attention to these because you don't want your album art to get rejected. You can't have things like a person's face without their recognition, things like that. Another thing I like about DistroKid is that they verify everything for you ahead of time. So again, you want to make sure you read the fine print. You're not violating anything here, so your album art will pass, but it does email you every step of the way. So it'll be like, oh, your album art looks great. Your sound came through, sounds great. Your lyrics came through, sounds great. I personally like those little check-in emails that tell you every step of the way that these kind of boxes are being checked off. And it's just reassuring that you know that you're doing everything correctly and your music will successfully go on all streaming platforms without any issues. Next, you want to give your song a track title. Another reason I like DistroKid is they don't have weird rules when it comes to track titles like or some other people do. For example, Billie Eilish on her album When We All Fall Asleep, Where Do We Go? I think every song was in lowercase letters and one was even the number 8. The intro track, which is her and Phineas laughing, it's just all exclamation points. I love that stuff. I think that's so cool. I feel like you should be able to be as creative as you want with your song titles. I like how DistroKid lets you have that creativity. Next, you'll add a featured artist if you have one one on the track, or if you're a featured artist on someone else's track, this is where your name will go when they add you. Say you're a featured artist or you're co-releasing a track and you want to show it on both artist profiles, not just your own. This is a great way to cross promote as well. You will both share the plays for that track, but it can be found on both your artist profiles on Spotify. It'll go out to the release radar for both you and the other artist, and under discography, it'll come up under both of your releases instead of just appears on. And where DistroKid makes it easy, you can list up to 3 primary artists per release. And to do this, you're just going to want to add the ampersand sign after your artist name before the other artist. DistroKid will automatically detect this and it'll ask you if it's the band name or a collaboration. Select collaboration. Just note that collaborations do take up an artist slot. So let me make that very clear here. Like I said, with the Musician Plus plan, you have 2 artist slots. I am part of a duo with my other half. Our band is My Lucky Vice. Sometimes I'll release music under My Lucky Vice. Sometimes I'll release it under Dash Please. But if I ever wanted to have a dual release where it's released under My Lucky Vice and Dash Please, I would actually need to have a third artist account where it's Dash Please, the ampersand, My Lucky Vice. Does that make sense? Think of featured artists as a guest appearance. Either you can do it under one artist or the other, and you could do featuring, or if you want a dual release, you will have to have that as its own artist slot with this artist ampersand the other artist or the band, and then you can release it under both simultaneously where it appears on both your profiles. An example of this would be 1035 by Tate McRae and Tiesto. If you notice, it appears on both their profiles, so they both share the play count, they share the track name, and they're paid equally for the plays. Now, if you're trying to find an artist or band name and you're having trouble finding it, you can use the Spotify Looker Upper tool. This can come in really handy for finding that when you need to. And if you're a featured artist on someone else's track, you can have this handy and send it to them so it's easy for them to find you. This is again something that I said was pretty important because sometimes it can grab the wrong artist name. You want to make sure that whether you're the featured artist on someone else's track, you have all your correct info sent to them so they can add it properly. Or if you're the one releasing the track, you want to make sure you add the correct artist as well. I actually had an issue with this a little while ago when I released a song called Deuces with my friend Jacob. For some reason, it was grabbing a different artist and not him. And so again, I emailed DistroKid and once again, got an actual person responding to my emails, which is huge. I love that about their customer service. They were able to manually edit it for me. So again, if you ever have any issues, you can just use the live chat bot, say you want to talk to a human, put your question, and then a couple days later, you'll get a response from an actual person via email, and they can help you resolve your issue then and there. By the way, I didn't know about this at the time, but there's actually a tool now for this. If you go to distrokid.com/fixer, you can go ahead and use their tool to try to get it sorted that way. Now, when it asks if it's a radio edit or the clean version would probably refer to not swearing. Say you have a song that has a swear word in it. Maybe the clean version or the radio edit is one that doesn't have swearing and it has a different word. Or maybe it's the live version. Maybe you have a song like Billie Eilish's Happier Than Ever, and there's the second half of the song, which sounds completely different than the first half, and you want to have just that second half as its own version. Or maybe you have a sped up version, maybe a Nycore version, which has been really popular on TikTok. And next you'll see this question ask if it already has an isrc code. If you do ever need to find that for a song you've already released, click on music, click on track. Here it will show you the isrc for that song. Next, you'll see a preview of what your song title will look like. Choose the audio file, and I recommend WAV files for best quality. Always use the highest quality audio you have. MP3 sounds very close to WAV, so if you only have an MP3, don't sweat it. Next, it'll ask you Dolby Atmos, essentially a 3D audio experience. Imagine hearing sound from all around you, in front of you, behind you. People are going to be listening on their AirPods or their headphones, so I wouldn't worry about this too much for now. Definitely don't stress over it. Atmos is a system designed with speakers coming from all directions, which makes for a very immersive experience. I recently saw U2 at the Sphere, which has Dolby Atmos, and it was seriously such a cool experience. If you want to check out that video, I'll go ahead and link that in the description below as well. Next, it'll ask you for the songwriter or songwriters. And again, typically this will refer to the vocal melody, the sung melody, and also the lyrics, but everybody's different. If you're in a band like U2, maybe you just all split songwriting credits across the board. And normally it would be your full legal name, not your artist name, and it will show up in the credits on Spotify and all streaming platforms. Next, it'll ask you if explicit lyrics, yes or no, aka swearing. And by the way, I'll show you how to add lyrics in just a bit. Next is the song instrumental, yes or no. Basically, does it have lyrics, yes or no? Next is preview, and basically it'll allow you to choose where you want the preview to start, or you can select let streaming services decide. I used to always let streaming services decide, and I realized that this is usually the same clip that will show up in TikTok and other social platforms, and sometimes it'll pick the perfect spot, and sometimes you'll be like, that's a weird place to start. Lately, I've been choosing my own. I've been kind of listening to what I feel like is the most catchy part of the song, or maybe the part I feel like will really hook the listener in. Maybe it's a part in the bridge that transitions into the last chorus. Whatever you choose, make sure you put that here. And again, that'll be the preview on a lot of social platforms or on iTunes and such. When people can preview a song before release, this will be the part that they hear. This will also be what shows on a hyperfollow or pre-save link that I'm also going to dive into in just a bit. As for price, this is how much on iTunes it costs or wherever they can purchase music. Next is artist mapping. This is where you check if artists are added correctly. I'd copy and paste these links in a new window and make sure they work, and go to the right artist profile on each platform. And if they don't have one yet, you can leave blank, but this is again going to apply if you're adding a featured artist. Two really cool things I want to point out: an add-on for discoverability. Basically, you know how when you're shopping or something and you hear a song you like, maybe it's in a show even, and you pull out your phone and you Shazam it. That is such a huge thing for independent artists, that discoverability. If your song happens to get placed in a commercial, in a show, or in a playlist, and people are hearing it in the stores, and people are like, oh my gosh, what is that song? And they Shazam it. That literally helps so much for indie artists with discoverability. I absolutely recommend you add that onto every song. In my Apple Artist account, I see how many people Shazam my songs, and I'm blown away by how many people actually heard it somewhere and checked out what it was. Noise normalization, you pay $2.99 per song, and what it does is it makes sure that your song matches the loudness level of all the other songs on Spotify, so that yours doesn't sound super loud and distorted or super quiet and it doesn't match the rest of the songs in a playlist. And you get that money back if yours already is normal when it comes to the normalization. And if you know what you're doing or you have a really good master, I use it every time and I always get the refund. Mandatory checkboxes. I selected YouTube Music. Why did you upload my music to YouTube? Now, before I dive into this, I do want to explain it is very important to have your music on, again, all streaming platforms. You definitely want your music on YouTube, and I definitely recommend you do select this. However, there is something to note, and this is a YouTube thing. This is not a DistroKid thing, but YouTube doesn't handle this in the best way. But I'm going to explain this as best I can, because this is where a lot of artists get confused. So one of the streaming platforms that you want to release your music through, DistroKid or whoever your distributor is, again, is YouTube. Now, YouTube will automatically release your music on what's called a topic channel. This is where the first time you upload your music through any distributor, once it goes onto YouTube, it'll automatically be on a topic channel. A topic channel is basically an auto-generated channel for you as an artist, where each release will be automatically uploaded to YouTube as a video, but in reality, it's just a stagnant image of the album art and the song. Now, if you're serious about your music, and I'm sure you are going to want to upgrade this topic channel to an OAC or an official artist channel as soon as possible. Here's why. A topic channel is automatic, and unfortunately, any of these releases that you release through your distributor, once they're on YouTube, on your topic channel, they cannot be edited. Remember how I mentioned earlier how you can easily go to DistroKid and edit your release? That will edit it for all streaming platforms except your topic channel on YouTube. For whatever reason, these are literally not editable. It is super frustrating. Say there was a typo, or you wanted to remove a credit on the track, or you just want to link your Spotify in the description of that video or something like that. You literally can't edit the track title. You can't edit the thumbnail, which is the stagnant image of the album art. You can't edit literally anything. But as soon as you do convert your topic channel to an official artist channel on YouTube, then it becomes just like a normal YouTube channel, and you can edit the thumbnail, you can edit the description, you can edit the links, you can edit literally everything. So again, this is only something you have to deal with right in the beginning, and it's super frustrating, and it's kind of a catch-22, because you need to have music on YouTube in order to turn that topic channel into an official artist channel. That's just the way it goes. So just know that, and I'm going to walk you through it. So first, you need a YouTube channel. Give it the same name as your artist's name. Upload at least one song or one video to it. It could be a music video, a lyric video, it doesn't matter. Just make sure it's one of your own songs, and it's one of your songs that can easily be found on all your streaming platforms. So YouTube knows that this is you, this is your official channel that you are starting, and that it is associated with all your music on all the other platforms. I recommend putting the same song as the very first one you're going to be releasing through DistroKid, because it'll just make everything so much easier. The first time you release a single on DistroKid, use that same song and upload it to YouTube as a music video, as a lyric track, as just an audio file, whatever you want to do. Just make sure that it's easy for YouTube to connect the two for you. Now, again, DistroKid is lightning fast, and YouTube will take possibly up to 6 weeks. But again, during that time, hopefully you're recording more music. You are getting all your socials with your handle, with that artist name you came up with. Maybe you're filming music videos or creating lyric videos to have ready once you get your official artist channel. Even if you're not a YouTuber, I definitely recommend making this YouTube channel. You can share behind the scenes footage of filming a music video or recording in the studio, or you can do a live performance and put that on YouTube. You can interview other artists and do like a podcast type thing. There are literally endless possibilities. It's also a great way for you to engage with your fans, comments and shorts, and just interacting with them and being present in your own online community. YouTube is the biggest search engine for entertainment. When people are searching for entertainment related topics or music, they're going to go on YouTube. Once again, it's about being discoverable wherever people are searching for that content. You want them to be able to find you and find your music. So once you created your YouTube channel and you have at least one song on there that again matches one of the songs that you uploaded through your distributor like DistroKid, then you can go ahead and upgrade your channel to an official artist channel. Your channel will get the verified little note next to it, the music note that'll make it look all official. And then from there on out, it'll be much better. I promise you. Next, I won't use promo services that claim to get streams, even if they claim organic and real. 100% of these services use fake stream bots, easily detectable by streaming services. This will get you banned from Spotify. Don't ever use third-party websites or anybody claiming to give you plays in exchange for money. It might seem like a shortcut, but in reality, those aren't actual people. They're not actual fans that are going to engage with your music. They are bots. You don't want to pay for bots. You don't want fake plays. You want authentic plays, authentic listeners that are going to engage with your music, become fans of yours and your music. Do not engage in any third-party sites. It's a huge no-no. It can get you banned and it's inauthentic. I recorded this music and I'm authorized to sell it in stores worldwide and collect all royalties. Make sure that you do, in fact, own the royalties if you are releasing this music. I'm not using any other artist name in my name, song titles, or album art without their approval. Kind of a no-brainer, but it's good to know. And then lastly, you have read and agreed to the terms of service for the DistroKid distribution agreement. And now I want to dive in a couple other things that you can check out through DistroKid. One is the bank. This is where you can see where your money is coming from. You can view by song, by date, by platform, also cash out. Make sure your bank account info is connected and correct. Now, once your song is submitted, you can add credits, edit royalty splits, sync your lyrics, and more. So let me show you how to do that. First, let's add credits. So go to music, click on release, and then you can see all the info relating to your releases. The day it was uploaded, the release date. Here you can edit it if you need to make a change to the album art or release date, as I mentioned earlier. And under songs, you have more options as well. So it'll let you click on credits, and here you can add songwriters, you can add production credits or mixing and mastering credits. If you had a featured musician play on a track, you can add that here as well. Next, you'll want to go back to your release, and under songs, select plain lyrics. Here you can just add the lyrics. There's also this fun thing you can do where you can have AI try to guess the lyrics, which is pretty funny. Be sure to note the guidelines so your lyrics don't get rejected. You don't want to include things like labeling the intro or the chorus or the pre-chorus or the verse or anything like that. Don't end with any punctuation. There's a lot of little details in there, so make sure you read that. Once your lyrics are approved, again, you'll get the email from DistroKid saying, awesome, your lyrics are approved, and then you'll be able to sync your lyrics. Now, this is actually pretty fun. Your song will start to play, and you hit the space bar every time you want to go to the next line. So here you're literally syncing up each line in the lyrics with where it plays in the song. And if you ever mess up, you can just start over, but you'll have to start over from the beginning. So try to get it right the first time. This is really cool because when people are listening to your song on mobile, you can see the lyrics playing in real time synced up with your songs. Definitely a cool feature to have, especially if you take pride in your lyrics. And as someone who does that, I definitely recommend this feature. This is one of the few things that does take a little while to show up on streaming platforms. And since, again, DistroKid is lightning fast with everything, I feel like this is on Spotify's end. I'm not sure exactly, but it does seem like it takes a while for the synced lyrics to at least show up on mobile. But once it does, it is a really cool thing. So definitely don't sleep on that. Next, you want to add splits and make sure you do this accurately because this is very important. You want to make sure you get this right if you're the one releasing it, and you definitely want to double check and make sure that you're getting your appropriate splits if you're featured on another artist's track. So pro tip, splits is always important to discuss upfront in collaborations. You definitely want to get this in writing. Again, I'll probably get into the weeds on this in another video. So if you want me to dive into this, let me know in the comments, but you would ideally like to have a contract upfront with whoever you work with that says who keeps ownership of the publishing and the masters. If there's any producer points, which if you don't know what that is, I'll get into that too. But essentially, let's say you give a producer 3 producer points. That'll likely equate to 3% of any sync licensing royalties that come in. And you also want to know percentage-wise upfront what the split is like. If you're releasing as a solo artist and you're hiring out a producer, maybe you just pay them a flat fee upfront, and you own 100% of your publishing and masters, and you keep 100% of the royalties for streaming services. Depending on what works for you and the people you work with, just make sure it's all discussed up front, and ideally get it in writing up front so there's no headaches later on. Make sure you're all in agreement, and then you get those splits right. Now note that they will have to sign up with the distributor, whether it be DistroKid or whoever you're using, in order to collect those royalties, or it'll charge you a fee if you want to just pay for it. They don't have to sign up, and then they can get those royalties again, whatever you decide. Just know that you have options. Another way you can edit splits is by going to splits at the top, and here you'll see a list of all your releases in alphabetical order and sorted by artist. Now another thing you can do here is download the audio files for your releases. If you're someone that happens to be extremely disorganized, definitely not talking about myself, but if you do somehow lose the master audio file, this is an easy way to download it for free. DistroKid keeps track of them all for you, which is super handy. And earlier I mentioned isrcs. If you ever need to find that for each release, you can find that here. Hyperfollow, definitely something I recommend as well. This is how you get that pre-save link. So again, when you have those 30 days and you're anticipating a release and you want to get your audience hyped about it, you want to get the word out, this is something you can share with everyone. Note, the first time they opt in, it is like this page of like fine print, but it's pretty standard. Just let them know the first time they accept that, they never have to see that again. It's just the very first time. And then from there on out, whenever you have a new pre-save link for your next release, people can just one-click it and then it will automatically save. So when it comes out on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever they listen to music, they will get notified of that release. And it definitely helps you as well. Spotify looks at pre-saves. It definitely helps with engagement. They say that the first 2 days of release are super crucial. And so those first 2 days that your release is out there, it's notifying everybody that opted in for that pre-save link, and it's letting them know your release is live and it's out there and you can stream it and you can listen to it. And so I definitely recommend doing this as well. And what's cool about this is you can edit each one as well. So you can add all your social links. You can add a video if you already have a lyric video out or a YouTube video out. It'll automatically have that preview we discussed earlier where you chose or you had streaming services decide the best part of the song to preview. But if you're somebody like me where I don't like to tease my songs before they come out, a lot of people prefer it. I go back and forth, but usually I tend to not preview it. So I go ahead and take that off. So it's nice to have that option as well. Now, if you look under special access, you can find links to Spotify for artists, Apple Music for artists, your official YouTube artist channel once you have that, and you can link your Twitch channel and more. I love that they call these goodies because I use that word a lot too, and it's just fun. You can also create mini shareable videos that feature your track, create promo codes that you can post on socials promoting your newest release. Another crucial tool, especially for small artists, is Spotify's Canvas tool. And so this is the little video that plays when you're listening to a song on mobile. And if you don't have a music video, if you don't have access to high quality editing, you can use a free program like CapCut, or you can use in DistroKid these free videos where you can search for a theme, find a cool video, download it, and then easily just use that as your Spotify canvas, even if it's a temporary one. Drag it into CapCut, you can throw on a couple filters, really make it your own. I'm going to dive into this more in the video. I'm going to discuss all the ways you can market your music leading up to release. If you want to know more about how I create content for Spotify Canvas, for socials, or my lyric videos, let me know in the comments below if that's something that you'd like to see, and maybe I'll make a video on that as well. And congratulations, your song is now scheduled for release or live on all streaming platforms. But now is where the real work begins. Getting your music heard. In my next video, I'm going to go over everything you can do in the 30 days leading up to your release and after your song is released to promote it, how to contact music blogs for possible interviews or features, how to use all of Spotify's tools like their pitch tool to editorial playlists, discovery mode, their marquee. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. And don't forget, if you use my referral link, you can get 7% off with DistroKid. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe. If you made it through to the end, let me know in the comments with the fire heart emoji. That was a lot of information, but I really hope you found this helpful. I hope it was easy to follow, and I hope that it will set you up for success for your future releases. Feel free to check out my other videos where I discuss more indie artist tips, or you could check out my original music, Dash Please, on all streaming platforms. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.